Hello, and welcome to the Blue Hills Reservation 2020 Managed Deer Hunt Orientation. My name is Peter Church, and I'm the Director of Forest Stewardship for the Department of Conservation and Recreation. Joining me in this orientation is Mike Nelson, DCR's Director of Ranger Services. Congratulations on being selected to the 2020 Blue Hills Deer Hunt. Next. The purpose of this managed hunt is to reduce the deer herd in the Blue Hills to sustainable levels. This is not a recreation hunt. Over the last 20 years in the Blue Hills, evidence suggested that the deer population was growing to the point that it was not sustainable to the forest. There were signs of overbrowsing in the understory throughout the park. In 2011, a comprehensive resource management plan was written. One key finding that came out of the plan was that overbrowsing by deer could significantly impact the species diversity of the forest. Next. Vegetation and deer density surveys were conducted by staff from the Division of Fisheries and Wildlife and DCR. Based on the results of those surveys, it led to the state beginning a managed hunt in 2015. Next. Every year, the DCR puts forth a comprehensive management plan for hunting in the Blue Hills. This plan, which you all have been sent the link to, outlines the purpose of the hunt and the specific logistical information in the hunt. I would strongly encourage all hunters to read it. At this point, I'm going to turn the presentation over to Mike Nelson to talk about public safety, hunter safety, and hunting etiquette. Mike.
Thanks, Pete. Again, my name is Mike Nelson. I'm the Director of Ranger Services for DCR. As Pete just mentioned, this is for a controlled, deer population controlled hunt, and to limit the population of deer. But with that in mind, all of our we're most concerned about everyone's safety, the public safety, your safety, and to make sure that the hunt goes as well as possible. With relation to COVID-19, these are some considerations that we need you all to keep in mind. You are all required to practice social distancing by remaining at least 6 feet away from other people. And that is when you're getting out into the woods, while you're out in the woods, and so as you're leaving the woods. Per the governor's order, all permitted hunters are required to wear a face covering if social distancing cannot be maintained. And with that in mind, you must always have a face covering with you, even if you're not wearing it. If you're out by yourself for a long period of time, you would need to at least have a face covering with you so that as you're traveling the trails, you can put it on if you're ever coming within 6 feet of anyone. Okay, keep in mind that the Blue Hills is a popular year-round destination for all kinds of recreation, hikers, bikers, dog walkers, etc. The reservation is surrounded by many high-use roadways and major highways, and is surrounded by an urban environment. And in addition to that, the park system statewide has seen the highest level of use that it has ever seen in this year of COVID-19. So there will be other recreational hikers, bikers, and whatnot out in the parks while you are out there. So just always be aware of your surroundings while you're out in the woods. Okay. We have in the past, particularly during the shotgun hunts, but at times during the past, we have had protesters out there protesting against the deer hunt in the Blue Hills. We just ask that you always do your best to project a positive image of hunters and of hunting. This deer hunt is for the protection of the forest itself. But that said, please always be courteous and respectful of people's freedom to voice their own opinions. And please avoid confrontation. If anyone is out there and protesting, holding signs, or making comments, we don't want you to get involved. Please walk away from any of those situations that you may encounter. Again, we don't anticipate that you will encounter protesters during the archery hunt, but just to be aware, we would ask that you walk away and call this phone number. You're going to see this phone number several times, 617-874-6278. That is going to be held by DCR staff persons at all times while you may be out during the hunt, all daytime hours. So please call that number if you encounter anyone while you are out there, and just walk away from the situation yourself and wait for help to come and address the situation. Okay, this is a controlled hunt for deer only. No other wildlife is to be taken during this hunt. It is strictly for deer. And we ask again that you display good sportsmanlike behavior and portray the best ideals of hunter sportsmanship and etiquette. We ask that you assist fellow hunters if needed. If someone's asking you for help, we ask that you, if at all able, give what assistance you can. And again, here's this phone number again, 617-874-6278. Call that number if you suspect a non-permitted hunter in your hunting zone. Again, do not make contact yourself or confront anyone. Leave that to the DCR and the environmental police to address those situations as they come up. Again, this hunt is for the protection of the resource, and we ask that you do your best to protect the resource as well while you are out there. Please treat the Blue Hills with respect. Carry in and carry out all of your litter. Hunter disputes, again, will be settled by the environmental police. You'll see that phone number again, but any issues that you run into, please call that cell phone number. And abide by all controlled deer hunt rules and mass wildlife hunting regulations. Again, for your safety, please be prepared before you get out into the woods. We want you to dress appropriately for the weather conditions. Look at the weather, look at the forecast and any possibility of precipitation, or be aware of all conditions, wind and whatnot. Dress in layers, all of those things that you know to do. Stay hydrated. Make sure that you bring with you enough water to last you the entire day. Bring a flashlight, though you're primarily going to be out there during daylight hours. You should have a flashlight with you in case you go into close to sunset toward the end of your day, or you're getting out there in advance of sunrise. Have a fully charged cell phone, so make sure that before you get out there, you make sure that you get your cell phone charge all the way up to 100%, so that you have that resource at your disposal for the entire time you are out there. Also, bring a paper map. Make sure that you're not relying strictly on technology, but you also have the old paper map with you so that if you run into problems, you can navigate your way out using the paper map. And again, please make sure that you have a face covering on your person at all times. You will be alone, I'm sure, for most of the time that you're out there, but you still will be traveling the trails, getting to and from your spot once you're out there. So make sure that you have a face covering and that you're always putting it on if you're ever crossing past somebody on the trails. Okay, if you have a medical emergency or injury, of course, for any emergency, you just dial 911 as you always would. Something that maybe is not quite as urgent, or maybe as a secondary call, if you do have an urgent emergency, you can dial that cell phone number again, 617-874-6278. There again will be staff in the park that have that cell phone on their person at all times. Know your location while you are out there. That's just good general practice. Make sure that as you're traveling the trails, you know exactly where you are when you're out there in case you need to report your location to somebody, and obviously so that you're not getting lost as well. Make sure you have all medications that you may need. If you take medications, you need to have those with you. Make sure that those are on your person, not left back in your vehicle or anything like that. And then if you do get lost, if your phone goes out or you're not sure where you are on the map or you don't have your map, please stay in place. If your cell phone is still working, call that cell phone number again. We have a website that you can direct you to get your exact coordinates that we can direct ourselves to get right to you. That is best practice rather than trying to guess at which direction you need to go and start heading in a direction. It's always best to stay exactly where you are and give a call. The staff are out there, and that's what they're there for, is to help. Okay, again, dress appropriately. That means dressed for the weather, but also blaze orange clothing is encouraged, though it's not required for the archery hunt. It's still encouraged for you to wear blaze orange. And then as it comes to tree stands, this is very important for hunter safety. Statistically, most injuries that happen during hunting are not related to firearms or to your arrowheads, but to getting up to and being in your tree stand. Falls from tree stands are a major cause of injury. Please use a full body harness when you're in your tree stand, and utilize a haul rope for bringing gear up. And always use 3 points of contact as getting up and getting down from your tree stand. Okay, for your safety in terms of archery, please be careful when handling broadheads. They're very sharp, and you don't want to be out in the middle of the woods with nobody around and give yourself a bad cut. Check your equipment often. Make sure that you identify your target. No taking shots blindly. Be sure of a safe path from your arrow to the target. So we don't want you taking shots that are going through brush or getting a little bit too close to trees as you're taking your shot. You want to make sure that you have a clear path for your shot. Check for your proper bow limb clearance for any brush or branches. Again, just making sure that you have a clear shot. And nock arrows only when you're ready to shoot. You should not be walking or waiting with a nocked arrow. Wait till you see your target, then nock your arrow before taking your shot. Please place your arrows in a covered quiver. All of your quivers should hold your arrows securely. Do not take any, again, over-the-hill shots, no blind shots. So we don't want you taking any over-the-hill shots. Again, there are lots of trails throughout the Blue Hills. It's very dense with trails and very highly visited. We don't want you taking any blind shots because there can always be a person or a person with their dog just on the other side of the ridge. So please don't take any blind shots or over-the-hill shots. No poisoned arrows or explosive tips are allowed. No mechanically released bows. Handheld and hand-operated releases are okay. And crossbows are allowed only if you have the appropriate permit. Okay, now we're going to get a little bit into the hunt rules and logistics. A copy of these rules will be sent to all selected hunters via email, or if you may have already received these. Please make sure that you read and review these carefully before even going out and scouting. So not just before the hunt, but even before going out and scouting, make sure you read these rules in their entirety and make sure that you're familiar with them entirely. After completing this orientation, at the end of this orientation, you'll be required to acknowledge that you have reviewed and understand and will abide by these rules while hunting. A website address will be provided to you at the end of this presentation. Okay, in terms of the schedule, the archery hunt dates is in total of 12 days for the hunt. We are starting on Monday the 16th and going through Thursday the 3rd of December. You are not required to hunt every day during the hunt, but we ask again that this is to control the deer population in the Blue Hills, and especially due to circumstances of COVID, we had to eliminate the shotgun hunt this year, and but we really ask that everyone get out there and do as much effort as possible in terms of getting out there as many days and spending as much time out there as possible to make as much of a dent in the population as possible during this hunt. We ask you that you get out there as often as possible. Again, this is Monday through Thursday only, so for the first week it is Monday the 16th through Thursday, November 19th. The second week is Monday through Wednesday only, the 23rd through the 25th. The 26th is Thanksgiving, and there is no hunting allowed on Thanksgiving. And then again, the final week is the November 30th to December 3rd. Hunting while you are during any of these days is allowed from 1/2 hour before sunrise until 1/2 hour after sunset. So no hunting during the dark hours. Okay, we'll show you a map in a little bit about how the zones are distributed, but archery hunters are all assigned to one of 2 designated hunting zones within the Blue Hills. Each zone has several management areas, so there is 2 large zones that are each broken down into smaller management areas. Zone 1 hunters can hunt in any of the management areas within Zone 1. So there are a number of management areas within each zone. Zone 1 hunters can be in any zone, any management area, within Zone 1. And then Zone 2 likewise can be in any management area within Zone 2 on any and all days of the archery hunt. Please make sure that you are respectful of other hunters that are already hunting in a certain area and avoid overcrowding. So be respectful of other hunters' space. In terms of tree stands, permittees are allowed to use multiple tree stands, so you can have multiple tree stands out there. We ask that you please not put in any permanent tree stands. Those are not allowed, so you cannot bolt in or nail in anything into any of the trees. You may install tree stands starting November 7th. So that is 9 days in advance of the start of the hunt. You can start putting tree stands out. And tree stands may be kept in the forest for the entire duration of the archery hunt. So if you can put them in as early as November 7th, and as long as they are removed by the end of the day on the last day, 6 p.m. on December 3rd. Installation of a tree stand does not entitle a hunter to a particular area of the reservation. So if you've put a tree stand out there, that doesn't mean that you have exclusive rights to that area. And likewise, if you go out and there's a tree stand up in a tree, but no other hunters that you're kind of encroaching on, then you can still hunt in that area. So the tree stand does not give claims to any one person being in that area. DCR is not responsible for any lost or vandalized tree stands. And use of on-the-ground hunting blinds is prohibited. You cannot use those. Okay, hunter check-in. I'm going to turn it back over to Peter Church now to take on this section here.
Thanks, Mike. For hunting this year, there will be no daily hunter check-in requirement. Hunters may go directly to their management zone on days in which they decide to hunt. And then for archery, you do not need to check out in the Blue Hills. Each hunter will be electronically emailed an access permit. This is what it looks like. You'll need to print this access permit. On the access permit, you're going to cut the bottom portion of the permit and display it on your vehicle dashboard with the number side up. Carry the top portion of the permit with you while you're hunting. Keep that top portion with you at all times. And then these are the 4 things that you need while you're hunting in the Blue Hills. You need the permit that I just spoke about. You need your 2020 mass hunting sporting license. You need to get Blue Hills antlerless deer permits from Mass Wildlife, and I'll talk about that in a minute. And you need a valid photo ID. And again, you need all 4 of these things when you're hunting. When you park for archery, display the placard with the number on your dashboard. It must be visible. There's no parking along the major highways of I-93 and Route 24. There's no parking on trails. Please do not park any of the block any of the fire gates, and use the parking areas identified on the map that you will be provided via the email. If you're tracking a deer, tracking of wounded deer is only allowed during hunting hours. You're prohibited from tracking wounded deer onto private property or roadways. If you wound a deer and it crosses into private property, please call this number, 617-874-6278. If a staff person does not answer, leave a message with your name and return phone number. And if your call is not returned within 5 minutes, please contact the environmental police at 1-800-632-8075. All hunters are responsible for transporting any deer that are harvested to your vehicles. If you need assistance, you may call a friend. When you do the field dressing, please move the deer carcass at least 100 feet away from a trail before gutting and cleaning. Harvested deer must be legally tagged prior to moving or field dressing, and select areas of disposal for deer parts that are out of view of the general public. Again, there will be no deer check station during the archery hunt. If you harvest a deer, you must report your harvest to DCR by submitting the online harvest data report DCR will provide additional information with your access permits. A separate online harvest data report must be completed and submitted to DCR for each harvested deer. In addition, you are still required to report your harvest within 48 hours on the Mass Fish Hunt website. So you're reporting your deer in two places. On the Mass Fish Hunt website, when you report your deer, there's a series of questions. On question 9, what types of land did you harvest your deer on? You're to check the box that says special hunt. So question 9, check the box that says special hunt. On the follow-up question, please list any additional comments. Please write in the box Blue Hills Reservation. So it's a special hunt in the Blue Hills Reservation. There are some endangered species in the Blue Hills. We wanted to list these two. There are endangered snakes that are in the Blue Hills. Chances are during this time of year they're denning, so you won't see any, and they're very rare. But if you do come in contact with a snake, please leave it alone and walk away from it. Here's the map that you will be sent. So there are 2 zones. Zone 1 are all the areas in blue. Zone 2 are all the areas that are bubbled in orange, and it's split by Route 28. So Zone 2 is on east of Route 28 that goes through the reservation. Zone 1 are those select areas that are highlighted that are west of Route 28. There's some large areas of the reservation that are not huntable, specifically a good portion of Great Blue Hill and Houghton's Pond. I also want to note that if you are in Zone 1 in the Fall Meadow or Little Blue Hill area, you cannot park on Green Street, which is in between those 2 select areas. You will be getting this map, and we highly encourage that you do some scouting if you're not familiar with these areas. So a little bit about scouting and how you get your doe permits. You're allowed to start scouting beginning on November 1st, and then starting on November 16th when hunting begins. Scouting is only allowed on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. And there's no scouting after Sunday, November 29th. While you're scouting, you must have a notice of selection, the email that allows you to hunt this year, your 2020 mass hunting sporting license, and a valid photo ID. The use of trail cameras is prohibited in this hunt. No trail markers, reflective markers, or flagging may be used. No cutting of vegetation. And again, display your parking placard on your vehicle dashboard while you're scouting. Once you finish this orientation, Mass Wildlife will make doe tags specific to the Blue Hills available to permittees. You must purchase at least 2 antlerless deer permits. You cannot use Zone 10 doe tags for this hunt. Antlered deer will count towards your statewide bag limit of 2 antlered deer if you do get 2 antlered deer. And antlerless deer permits will be available for purchase after the hunters complete the orientation and online affirmation. And again, if you get more than 2 deer, antlerless deer, you can apply for more deer permits for this particular hunt. So in order to confirm with DCR that you've completed this orientation session, you must go to the following web page and complete the final step. So please write this web page address down, www.mass.gov DCR/BH-rules. Again, please write this website down. And on this webpage, you'll review the official 2020 rules for the permitted archery hunt and complete an online form affirming that you viewed this orientation video and that you have read, understand, and will abide by this year's archery hunt rules. After submitting your online confirmation, DCR will email you your access permit and you'll be ready to be in the hunt. And again, thank you very much for participating in the Blue Hills Hunt. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to send emails to the email contact information that you get. Thank you.